Alrighty guys, welcome back to another episode with Explore by Adventure. In this episode, what we're going to be doing is installing a new rear diff in the cruiser. So we've got a track corrected leaf sprung diff from Superior Engineering. We're going to be pulling out the old one, so we've got the same track correction from the front and rear. I'm not going to have the problems of running spacers anymore. So last time I've had issues with the spacers in the past where all the wheel studs have snapped, wheels flown off. You've probably seen that in an episode already. So we're going to get rid of that, have front and rear diff. So it is all chrome all the axles as well from Superior, so I'm not going to have any axle problems as well. So what we're going to do first is we're going to let all the oil out and then unbolt the hubs and take the brakes off. So with this, we're going to reuse the old brake pads, brake discs. If you've got a normal handbrake, you reuse the old handbrake. But we're not going to put any of that back in because we've actually got the electric handbrake on the transfer case, so we're not going to worry about the shoes, just the pads and the brake caliper itself. And then we reuse obviously the old springs, new U-bolts, and as well as spring holders too. So got the boys here at work helping me out for a bit, and we're going to continue on tomorrow. So we'll get into it. Alrighty, we've got one spacer off, one side of the brakes off. Just going to pull the hubs off. We're just going to let some WD-40 soak into the other side in between the spacers. So it's like the spacer just like welds itself to the hub. So it's a bit of a pain to get off, but we'll get there in the end. Alright, I'm just pulling out the shoes. Handbrake shoes, and just getting rid of them completely because we don't have these handbrakes anymore. We have transfer case handbrakes, so this stuff can just go. I can get it out. Okay guys, day 2, just a little bit of an update. We went home pretty late last night. I've kind of got one side pulled apart. The other side we got it pulled apart a little bit, but we've had a bit of trouble last night with the spacers, so I won't be able to finish this over the weekend. The car's going to stay on the hoist until probably Tuesday. I've got to order some parts. So what's actually happened is my spacer has, like, this is why you don't use spacers. But I'm lucky that when I had my issue down in Barrington with the wheel coming off, it wasn't the driver's side. So the spacer's actually like welded itself to the hub. And we've only got probably like half the spacer to go and we just can't get it off. And what's actually happened is, I'll give you a look, we've actually like smashed the rotor and everything with using chisels and stuff to try and get it apart. So, that's my rotor. The whole center's fallen apart. It's just pushed, the hub's just pushed its way through, cracked all the rotor. So what I've done is I've actually gone and bought 2 new rotors because why not replace them anyways. I'm going to be putting new rotors on and I've got to get a new hub assembly for the driver's side. So I'll give you a look at that. So here's the hub assembly. Spacer's still attached. We've bashed and bashed and bashed and can't get it apart. We've even tried heating it, cutting the spacer, and it's just not going anywhere. It's now at the point where we've actually damaged the hub assembly. So I'm just gonna have to put a new one in. It's just gonna be easier to do it that way. So new hub assembly, new rotors, new wheel bearings. So I'm pretty much just replacing everything while I'm going at it. So today I'm going to be pulling the rest of the brake shoes out of the passenger side. I'm going to pull out the pull a backing plate. I've got to reuse all this stuff here. The ABS, got to pull that out, undo all the brakes as well. And then I should be able to undo the bottom of the leaf springs and undo this diff center. So I've also got to pull out the diff center, undo the tail shaft, and then unbolt everything that's on top of the diff, and I should be able to come out. By that time, Freddie should be here to give me a bit of a hand. I'll just give you a quick run through of some of the parts that we're actually putting in this. So we've got the new diff that's been all corrected and stuff. We've got the new axles to suit the diff. And then I've also got new brake lines that go on the back of the diff, and new brake hoses as well. And I've also got a new proportioning valve bracket as well. Also the new leaf hanger plates, new U-bolts, and all brand new bolts. So I'll show you. So this here is all the new bolts, all the washers, all the nuts, all in one packet. Come with a diff, put it all together. I'm pretty much going to just throw the old diff out, throw the old axles out, never going to use them again. And just have some spare like leaf pack hangers. So what I'm going to do is get into it this morning. I've got a bit of work to do today, and then I'll get into it this afternoon when Freddie turns up. See how we go. Alright, diff is out. Now all we're going to do is pretty much pull some of this stuff off here, like the ABS, and transfer it over to the new one, pull the diff center out, put it on the new one, and the new one will be able to go straight in there. So we'll start getting this apart and we'll get it in. Alrighty, so we've got both the diffs. We're going to pull the diff center out of that one, put the new diff studs into the new diff, swap everything over, put the brake lines over, and then we'll be able to lift this one up straight into there and then bolt it all back together. We've got the diff all together. We're just about to put the diff center in. But before we put the diff center in, we're actually going to put the diff into the car first and then put the diff center in once it's all bolted up, just to make it a little bit easier. So we'll do that. We've got all the brake lines on, just got to tighten it all up. And yeah, give you a bit of a look. ABS is on, the hard brake lines are on, diff breather's on. Okay, so as you saw, Freddie and I got the diff in. We've got him lined up into the correct holes. I've got my caster wedges still in there because I had a bit of a driveline shutter. Now what we're going to do is you put the U-bolts in, and we're also going to put the bottom plates in for the shocks. Bolt all that up, and once all that's bolted up, then we can start putting the bearings in, the hubs on, brake calipers, hook up all the brake lines and the ABS. Alright, so we're almost there. I'm actually waiting for a new hub for the driver's side and a new caliper. We had a bit of trouble with the stuff last night and found out that I actually need a new caliper on that side. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the passenger side all together. We're going to be putting the rotor on, the hub, all the brakes, do everything as per normal, and then it's obviously just the same for the driver's side. It's obviously just the same for the driver's side. I had to go home and look after the kiddies while Kylie played netball, but while I was doing that, Fred put all the hub together, so put all the new bearings in, greased them up, and did all that. I don't need to film any of that sort of stuff. We've done bearings before, and I'm sure most people will know how to do bearings and packing them and stuff. So I'm not using any of the internals of this. So in the internals of this would be the brake shoes, the springs and all the bits and pieces for the handbrake. Because I have a transfer case handbrake, I won't need to use any of this. So I'm not putting any of that back on, save me a heap of time. So next is the hub. So just slide the hub on through here. So what we're going to do, this here is the locking mechanism that holds the bearings in place. This screws on, and then 2 nuts and 2 bolts screw into these, wherever it lines up on the inside here, to straight into that locking pin just on the behind. So as I said, while I'm here, I may as well replace the rotor too. Put the new rotor on. Okay, so brakes are on. I've hooked up all the brake lines to the back here. Now all I've got to do is hook up all the wires along the back of the diff, such as the locker and stuff, and this side done pretty much is all I can do. Okay, so everything's all bolted up. Got the diff in, tail shaft's all done up. The proportion bracket is done up. I've got the brake lines in. All the ABS is in there as well. Axles in, new brakes, new rotors, new bearings. You may as well do it while you're in there. And yeah, that's it. And all I've got to do now is bolt the tyres on. Once the tyres are bolted on, let it down. Just tension all the rest of the bolts underneath for the U-bolts. And make sure they're all done up tight. Make sure I did the wheel bearings up tight enough. And yeah, that's it. So it is a little bit of a process, but you can do it yourself if you really want. Like it's not that hard. If you have any sort of mechanical knowledge at all, this will be actually pretty easy. I'll give you a close-up, bit of a look at it. Like I said, I'm not completely finished. I've got to wait for a new hub assembly for the other side, just so I've got to wait for another hub for the other side, new brake caliper for the other side as well, and then that one can all get done up as well. Don't forget, once everything is completely done, don't forget to top up your brake fluid and don't forget to bleed your brakes. So, you've got brakes. Anyways, like I said, it is a little bit easier for me because no handbrake. All my handbrake internals, which really, honestly, it looked like a pain in the ass. Like it's not hard, but it's just a pain in the ass. I've got no cable behind anymore, no brake shoes inside. So it's all just empty in there, so if mud and stuff gets in there, it doesn't matter. My brake shoes actually had no brake left on it. I haven't used them for quite some time. I've had the electric handbrake for a little bit too. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching Explore by Adventure.